It's March Madness. It's time for Hoops with Hendrix. Roger Hoover, pleased to be joined by Richard Hendrix, of course, a former Alabama basketball player, now an analyst for ESPN and the SEC Network. And Richard, I've been saying it for so long, a legendary Alabama basketball player. You were recognized as one of the SEC legends at the tournament last week in Nashville. How was that experience for you and your family?
Well, it was an honor to be recognized with the other recipients as a legend for Alabama. To think back on all of the efforts that my teammates and I and coaching staff all went through when I was a player at the University of Alabama, to be acknowledged of such, it's just a weekend I'll never forget. And to have it with my family there, to see that, it was just a pure joy.
It really is a great honor. What can you tell us about being named an SEC legend? Kind of the week of events you get to be a part of that a lot of us don't get to see.
Well, some of the greatest moments about that was that, with the 14 total players that were receiving the honor, we had a lot of really good moments to sit around and talk about, our playing days, how things were moving forward in our personal lives, our professional lives, talked about old games and battles that we had on the court years ago, and also meeting some players that you've never met before and hearing a little bit of their stories. But it was a lot of fun to sit courtside, watch all the games. I'm a basketball guy. I got to have my family there, and my son was able to join me for several days. So it was a great experience for me personally, and to be acknowledged in front of my family and all of the Alabama fans, and as well as the rest of the people there to watch a great SEC basketball tournament. It was just an experience that I'll never forget.
Anybody in the Legends class that you played against? You mentioned talking about some old games.
Oh, well, I really talked with Torian Green, the point guard from Florida, on those back-to-back championships in '06, '07. Him and I, we known each other since high school. Got to spend a lot of time talking with Elston Turner, who came a little bit after me, but played at Texas A&M. And he had us a really good professional career. And we played in a lot of places that we both were able to talk about things and our experience playing ball overseas, as well as Daryl Mitchell, who was on that LSU Final Four team in 2006 that was headlined by a lot of really good players: Big Baby, Tyrus Thomas, Garrett Mitchell. I mean, Garrett, sorry, not Garrett Mitchell, but Garrett Temple and Tasman Mitchell. But for me, I always had to have a moment with Daryl Mitchell to let him know I always thought he was the best player on that star-studded team, and it was really good to see him get recognized as such. But all of the 14 guys, as well as Dwayne Curtis from Ole Miss, we had so many battles in the low post, a style of ball you don't see anymore. But it was just a great moment to really talk about those days and to catch up with those guys and get to know them on another level.
That's a really cool recognition. Again, you've been busy, of course, being recognized as an SEC legend. Before we dive into Alabama men's and women's basketball, tell us about your broadcast schedule, who you saw over the weekend or last week and championship week.
I've been on the go a lot. It's been a lot of fun. Got to call a couple of games during Champ Week in DeLand, Florida. Got to see Stetson beat Austin P in the A-Sun championship game, and now they have their first ever appearance in the NCAA tournament. But of course, they have the reward of being a 16 seed. But at the same time, a lot of fun with that, and I was able to call the SWAC championship game in Birmingham, Alabama, at UAB's Bartow Arena, where Grambling State was able to beat Texas Southern in the final. So a lot of fun calling games, and looking forward to calling a few more games moving forward in the NIT.
We look forward to watching those. Well, Alabama fans are really fired up that both of their teams, men's and women's basketball teams, are in March Madness. We'll start with the men's basketball team. The Crimson Tide, a number 4 seed. You look at last year, number 1 seed. First time the school's been back to back, a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament. A really tremendous season for the Crimson Tide. I know the regular season, Richard, may not have ended like fans wanted. Everyone wanted that championship, wanted a deep run in Nashville at the SEC tournament, but this is still a really dangerous basketball team getting ready for the big dance.
A dangerous basketball team. And to me, the credit has to go to Nate Oates and his staff. When you talk about replacing 3 assistant coaches that go on to be head coaches in Division One, as well as 2 first-round NBA draft picks in Brandon Miller and Noah Clowney, and Charles Bediako electing to go to the professional ranks as well, to have your team in first place with 3 games to go and needing even another bounce, potentially had a share of the SEC on the last game or two, I think was a great finish for this team that a lot of people did not know what the expectations could be. To achieve a double bye in the SEC tournament and then get to the SEC tournament. But unfortunately, not playing the basketball at the strength that they would like to have to finish out the regular season and in the tournament. Some injuries have hampered them a little bit, but you can only hope that the early exit in the SEC tournament is something that can let them regroup, give them a little bit of rest, and get them ready to try to make a push in the NCAAs.
Yeah, how important will rest be for guys like Rylan Griffin, Latrell Wrightsell Jr.? We know what they mean to this basketball team.
Huge. I mean, at this point in the season, everybody's nicked up, everyone's banged up. You want to try to be at your best. And if you can get healthy and then get a game under you in the NCAA tournament and hopefully win it and have some momentum, with this team, the way they can shoot the basketball, they can stay in the game with anyone. But the big question mark for Alabama will not be how they're shooting the ball. It will be how they are defending. In recent games, giving up over 100 points per game is a little too much to overcome offensively, and Alabama's going to have to get back to the drawing board to prepare themselves for a Charleston team that can score to try to make a surge and finish their season on a higher note.
For the Crimson Tide, this is now 4 straight years going to the NCAA tournament under Nate Oates. And of course, every time a major job opens around college basketball, his name's one of the first that gets mentioned as a potential replacement. But Alabama earlier in the week locking up Coach Oates to an extension, a huge buyout, but an extension to 2030. What does it mean for the overall health of the program to have your head coach locked in place with such a great deal like Nate Oates now has?
Well, that's great, for the program to have a coach that that's going to have the type of continuity that's going to be there. He has a proven record of what he's able to do at Alabama, and to see the commitment that he's showing shows that the program is headed in the right hands. So it's a credit to Greg Byrne for making the hire in the first place, when to many people in the South, he was a relatively unknown. But now he's been able to come into SEC and, quite frankly, the last few years been the top coach and dominated the league. A little slip up at the end of this season from getting another championship. But to have him locked down long term, and with a top recruiting class coming in and potential players returning from this team of a late season, of a team that was in first place for the majority of the season, it shows that the future is bright. And it's great to see a coach want to make that commitment.
Staying with the men's side for just a moment, we thought it would be a really interesting SEC tournament with so much parity around the league, and we really saw that with the top three seeds all going down on that crazy Friday. Of course, Auburn wins the SEC tournament championship. Just how do you feel about the health of the SEC going into the NCAA tournament? Who do you feel like could have maybe the longest run out of the SEC teams?
Well, the SEC is a deep league. And I've said all year long, it's a wide open league. Anyone can beat anyone. It's all about matchups. And you could see throughout the entire season that it came down to the wire. And then Auburn obviously winning the championship in the tournament, the top three seeds going down in day one of their competition. So it's a matter of matchups. Teams have the physicality, they have the coaching ability, they have the talent. And you can only hope for the league that you finally have a team or multiple teams make a long push and a long run in SEC play. Since Auburn in 2019, the last team to have a Final Four appearance, and going back to 2012, Kentucky winning the national championship. So a lot of push and a lot of talk that the SEC is the best league. But for me, this is the year that someone has to step up in league play and show why we are considered the best team with the Final Four appearance. And it would be great to have the prize at the end, which would be a national champion. To mention the teams that I think probably have the best shot. Now, of course, I want my Alabama Crimson Tide to be at the end holding up the trophy. They have to make sure that they do a good job defensively, but if they can get playing, shooting the ball well, running, then they can make a run. But when I look at the style of play and the balance, the size, and the momentum of a team of Auburn playing really good basketball right now in SEC play, quite frankly, dominated in the SEC tournament. Janai Broome is playing outstanding basketball on the interior, and the guards are starting to pick it up with the depth that they have. With that and the way that they're able to grind out wins and even outscore you when they need to, they seem poised to make a deep run. But a 4 seed in a tough bracket, they're going to run into UConn potentially after a couple of rounds. But they have the personnel to do it, as well as Tennessee with their depth, as well as their veteran play, Dalton Knecht being a top-level scorer, and the experience that they have.
So that's on the men's side. We'll shift gears now to the women's side. Alabama women's basketball back in the NCAA tournament for the second straight year, now 3 of the last 4 years under the direction of Christy Curry. And of course, you and I have teamed up on a lot of SEC network broadcasts of women's basketball this year here in Tuscaloosa. Just how would you describe the season you saw from Alabama women's basketball?
Well, I thought it was a great season. To come in with question marks when you're losing so much scoring from a team of previous years in leadership with Hannah Barber and Brittany Davis and Megan Abrams. You didn't know where the leadership and the scoring production was going to come from, but Sarah Ashley Barker answered that quick. That answer was the answer to that very quickly. The leadership, the hustle, the consistent scoring, and the will to win showed that Alabama was a little different this year. And that was great to see that they were able to get it together, that they were able to gel, play strong basketball, have some impressive wins this season, and they're rewarded with that to get an 8 seed in the NCAA tournament and an opportunity to keep taking the program forward.
It's going to be tough for Alabama without the services of Jessica Timmons. She's out for the year with an ACL injury, but now Alabama gets ready to take on Florida State and then potentially a number 1 seed Texas on their home floor this weekend in Austin. Just what's it going to take for Alabama to play some winning basketball this week?
Well, very tough to replace Jessica Timmons. She was a guard who could do so many things. She could run the point, she could score, she could defend, strong body, and could rebound. So it's a situation now that the team is going to have to rally around her absence and pick up their play without her there. But the challenge doesn't get easy when you're going up against Florida State. This is a team 5th in the ACC, went to the semifinals in the ACC tournament, losing to NC State, who's a powerhouse on the women's side. They lost in the championship game. But Tanaya Latson, big time scorer, over 20 points per game, dynamic. She can score in the middle game. She can shoot from outside. She can get the first step on you and get all the way to the cup. She's going to pose a real issue for Alabama. So the focus is going to have to be on her to make it difficult for her to get clean shots, as well as trying to keep Michaela Timpson off the glass, a double-double, 14 points, 10 rebounds per game. That's going to be a major challenge for our freshman Essence Cody. Essence has been playing really good basketball, but foul trouble has been something that has plagued her this entire season. And in order for Alabama to advance past Florida State, Essence Cody has to play to her full potential and stay out of foul trouble. She can do it. And when she does it, she's a force to be reckoned with. But she will have a major challenge in Timpson for Florida State.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Again, Friday will be busy with the men's and women's teams in action. Richard Hendrix will be all over the place with the NIT. You can catch him on ESPN Family and Networks moving forward. Richard, thank you so much for all the time you've given us here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Congratulations again on being named an SEC legend in this men's basketball class this year. And we look forward to catching up with you maybe when all the dust settles on this Alabama basketball season. But thank you again for your time. Roll Tide.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. Roll Tide.